the scenario and the mindset of a renter versus a buyer, a home buyer?
Okay, that's a good question. So does Jill plan on leaving in the next 5 years? Like if she's planning on moving in the next 5 years, buying a home is not probably a good idea for her because she's going to lose money. Because when you buy a house, you have to put up a down payment. You got closing costs, inspection, appraisal. There are several expenses that are a part of the home buying process before you step foot in the home. That's not including the maintenance. So if she's going to move within 5 years, or maybe Jill want to be nomadic, Jill trying to be out here in the streets on somebody's island with somebody margarita in her hand while she works on her laptop. So she not trying to buy a house and have to be situated right here. You know, she wants to be able to move around. To me, that renting works better for you. John is settled. John done lived his life. He done sold his oats and, you know, moved around. He's liking, he's, you know, sought the place that he wants to stay in. He likes this area. If John is younger, because you have a younger audience, he's checked this area out for schools to see about starting a family in this area, or has already examined it for the possibility that if he does find somebody and wants to get a bigger house or need to, what happens? Because a lot of times with HOAs, you can't rent them out.
Yeah.
So it's just like, basically, they're both analyzing their situation. They're not making hasty decisions.
I'm trying to give me a bag. I'm trying to give me a bag. I'm trying to give me a bag. I'm trying to give me a bag.
What's up? You are now listening to FY Fly the podcast, and I'm your host, Hassan Thomas, along with Remy, and we are here to share tools on how millennials can budget, save, invest, and understand student debt and credit to achieve financial freedom. If you're a high school student, college student, or someone who's interested in gaining more financial insight, this podcast is for you.
I'm trying to give me a bag. I'm trying to give me a bag. I'm trying to give me a
What's up, my FY Fly folks out there? How y'all doing? I hope y'all doing all right. Welcome to the FY Fly podcast. My name is Hassan Thomas, aka the kid that did and the man that can, baby. And today, we're going to be chopping up with full-time author, real estate investor, and the Money Moves motivator, Miss Nia Adams. How are you?
I am good. I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Of course. It's definitely been long overdue, so I'm happy to have you on here. You know, we originally met at FinCon, but now we're on FY Fly, and what we like to do, we like to skip the fluff and get right into the good stuff. How that sound?
Sounds good to me. Let's go.
Bet. So the first thing I really want to focus on during this chat with you, when we talked about this at FinCon, I said my young audience needs that home buying 101. So that's what we're going to focus on here today. So I want to know for you personally, like going back, for your first property, did you buy it? Did you rent it? And then, you know, from whichever one you chose to do, what made you choose that one compared to the other?
So my first property I bought in 2010, and I decided to buy it because I have a daughter. So I wanted to create stability for her. You know, back then I heard it was the American dream and, you know, that's what you're supposed to do. So just full disclosure, I didn't buy it based on my own financial goals. I bought it because you heard other people buying houses.
Society. Yeah. Gotcha.
Correct. That's why I bought it. But where I messed up at is I didn't prepare before purchasing it. So I bought it at age 27 and lost it at age 27.
Wow. So how did that happen?
So lack of an emergency fund is the best explanation I can give you. So I didn't save. I was house poor. So I had a nice house and I, you know, had my chest sticking out because I'm young. I just bought a house, you know, I'm doing it big. But I didn't save in case something happened. And 6 weeks after I purchased my home, I hurt my ankle. So I was a mail carrier at the time and slipped on ice. I was in Chicago, slipped on ice and broke a piece of bone off inside my ankle. And so that led me down the workers' compensation trail, which takes a very long time. And I did not have money saved. So like I even tried to force myself to work for like 30 days because I couldn't afford to be off work. Oh, yes.
Oh, Lord.
Yes, on the bad ankle because I knew I couldn't afford, you know, to not be able to pay my bills. And I knew I didn't have money saved. So when I finally couldn't take it anymore, my ankle was like, look, if you don't sit your down,
your body gonna tell you for sure. For sure. It's gonna tell you.
Yeah, so at that point, I had to sit down, and that's when it all started going downhill because I didn't have the money. I had to wait, while they did the paperwork, and they take a while. It's not a fast process. So
Yeah.
did that. I ended up having a boot cast. It went on for about 2 years, and eventually I had surgery on my ankle.
Okay.
So all of that caused me to end up losing my house.
So looking back on it now, would you I know you said you would have a fully loaded emergency fund just in case that emergency happened. So would that instance cause you, like, if you could do it all over again, would you rent or would you literally just have the emergency fund? So just in case, like, what does that look like?
I would have did better than that. If I was to do it again, not only would I have had an emergency fund, I would have rented out rooms. I would have been renting out my garage. I'm talking about my driveway.
So you would have bought it and then rented it out to everybody.
Baby, it wouldn't when I lost my income, it wouldn't be one piece of that house that wasn't up to generate revenue. Me and the house would have been working together, hitting the clock together.
Come on, turn that liability to asset. I love it.
Right.
I love So looking at the overall picture, for the young audience listening, from your expertise, when is the right time to buy? When is the right time to rent? Like, can you break down those scenarios?
Okay, so I have a book that does exactly this because it's pros and cons to both. And there's no definitive answer of whether you should buy or you should rent. It's based on that specific person, their financial goals, their financial status. So it's going to take you taking a look into your finances and being real with yourself. Like that's the first step. And not listening to social media, not listening to the outsides and what everybody else think you should do. Parents included. Sorry, y'all. Because you're going to have to look and see that, do you have consistent, steady income? Because when you get a mortgage, you are married to that mortgage. So you are promising that in sickness and in health, through good and bad, until, you're going to pay them regardless. So you need to understand that that's a heavy commitment that you're making. And that payment is not going to stay the same the full 30 years if you have taxes and insurance and other things pushed into it, because those things are going to change. So you need to have a solid income. And I personally feel a solid strategy that your income is going to go up. So not just, okay, I got this income, I'm going to be good, we made it. What are you doing that your income is going to consistently increase as your bills increase? That's one of the first things you want to do. Second, you got to start to build your dream team. I call it your real estate dream team. There are certain members you need on your team when you buy in a house. So
break that down for us. Give it to us.
Work on. So you need an inspector. I do not recommend anybody skip an inspection. I don't care if it's a brand new house and you're the first person in it, because things happen and corners get cut, especially as fast as these properties are coming up now. You need a real estate attorney. This is someone who's going to overlook your contracts, read them, make sure that you're agreeing to what you're supposed to, because there are several disclosures and different things that you have to make sure they are correct, because once you sign them, you have agreed to them, and it's going to take an amendment to that contract in order for you to change them. Then you're going to need to make sure that your budget is good. Like I said, so making sure you can afford it as well as the maintenance. When you're trying to figure out if you can afford a house, include maintenance, unless you're going to be out there cutting all the grass yourself. You need to figure out how much is it going to cost for you to keep that maintained, how much you're going to cost. It's certain gutters need to be clean. Air ducts need to be clean. It's so much maintenance that goes along. With renting, you don't have to do that. You can call the landlord.
So that's the pro right there.
That's the pro. You can call the landlord, but you also have to make sure you got a good landlord that's going to come fix it. So that's another part of it. So you don't have to worry about those things. Those things are taken care of, but you also can't be yourself as far as you can't make alterations in a rental. A lot of times when you're in somebody else's property, they govern what you can and can't do. Some of them, you can't have pets. You got to stop making noise when they say stop making noise. You gotta, you can't change the wall color. Some of them you can't even hang painting. So you can't make it a home. You know what I mean? So if you want that home and that's something that's very important to you and your mental health, then maybe a home buy might be better for you. But you still got to make sure you're financially prepared for it. Rental is also more flexible. You can move at the end of your lease and jump to another place if you don't like it. Whereas to when you buy a home, you're in there for a while.
You married to that mortgage, like you said. I love how you put that. And one thing that we're really huge on here on FY Fly is, actionable, practical
Mm-hmm.
advice and scenarios. So let's say we have Johnny over here on the right, and Johnny wants to buy a house.
Mm-hmm.
We have Jill over here on the left, and Jill wants to rent. What scenario? Give us scenarios for Johnny and Jill. Like, is Johnny trying to invest and turn it into a rental? I mean, a eventual rental property. Is Jill, only wants to be there for a little minute? Like, kind of give us the scenario and the mindset of a renter versus a buyer, a home buyer.
Okay, that's a good question. So, does Jill plan on leaving in the next 5 years? Like, if she's planning on moving in the next 5 years, buying a home is not probably a good idea for her because she's going to lose money. Because when you buy a house, you have to put up a down payment. You got closing costs, inspection, appraisal. There are several expenses that are a part of the home buying process before you step foot in the home. That's not
Gotcha.
including the maintenance. So if she's going to move within 5 years, or maybe Jill want to be nomadic, Jill trying to be out here in the streets on somebody island with somebody margarita in her hand while she works on her laptop. So she not trying to buy a house and have to be situated right here. She wants to be able to move around. To me, that renting works better for you. Full disclosure, I'm currently buying a house now. As a real estate investor, I was renting before I just bought this house because it did not fit in my financial plan at that time. So yes, I was buying investment properties before I bought me another house to live in. So
makes sense.
Full disclosure, you have to choose what works best for you and your finances. Now, John is settled. John done lived his life. He done sold his oats and, moved around. He's liking, he's sought the place that he wants to stay in. He likes this area. If John is younger, because you have a younger audience, he's checked this area out for schools to see about starting a family in this area, or has already examined it for the possibility that if he does find somebody and wants to get a bigger house or what happens? Because a lot of times with HOAs, you can't rent them out.
Yeah.
So it's just like, basically they're both analyzing their situation. They're not making hasty decisions.
Makes sense. So that's probably like the first thing that people need to do is analyze their personal goals. After the personal goals, or maybe the money goals should be first. I don't know. Maybe you need to see what you can afford first before you do anything.
Now the market, the rates are dropping a little bit, just a little bit right now.
So you think 2024? What's your forecast for 2024? Are you think we should be? Is it going to be like a buyer's market, a seller's market? Like, what do you project for 2024?
So right now, the interest rates are going down. I personally can't predict the market, but I have, I watch certain people and watch what's going on. And from what I understand, the rate is supposed to keep going down. So what's going to happen if the rate goes down is, I don't know if anybody remembers all the news articles around 2021 where it was a frenzy and it was hectic.
Cash buyers was getting everybody.
Yes.
People trying to buy homes and go ahead.
Because what's going to happen is, as the interest rates go down, the home prices are going to go back up. So that's one of the reasons that I'm buying right now. Because
and the home prices are going up because the demand, right?
Correct.
More demand.
It's all supply and demand, like you learn in economics class. The demand is going to go up as the interest rates go down, because now the interest rates are down. It's going to be more affordable to get a loan. The mortgage payments are going to be lower for the same cost of a house. So that's going to make more people want to buy, because now I can afford to. I've been waiting, and it's people who are literally sitting there like, okay, I'm just waiting. So as soon as that happens, exactly. So I think that's what's going to happen. It's going to create if it continues to go down, it's going to create a similar situation to 2021, and it's going to be rough. And a lot of people, like you said, cash buyers were buying, and people were having to offer more than the asking price. That's the next part of it, which made it even more expensive. And me personally, as a financial person, I'm not paying you $30,000 more than the asking price, because I'm eating up my equity. That's the whole point of me buying a house, to build equity. So why would I give my equity away so freely? I'm not interested.
So for next year, let's just say, for example, or let's say for the remainder of 2024, we're looking to buy a home. We have our budget right, and we know what we can afford. what is the next initial step? Is it to go get a loan or to go apply for a loan? Like, what's the next initial step after we know what we possibly can afford through our budgets?
This is when you have to become a stalker. You need to start stalking your home buying dream team, looking up realtors in your area, looking up home inspectors, following them on social media, seeing if you vibe with them. Your realtor can make or break your transaction. Like, and just so you know, you can hire and fire a realtor. Just because you sign on with a realtor does not mean you have to keep them through your whole transaction. But a realtor can make your transaction, make or break it. Like, I'm so serious. So I don't make that decision hastily. Just because your cousin or your auntie just started doing real estate, there's no friendship in real estate when it comes to this money and how much you have to spend to buy a house. We keeping it real. It's one of the things you're going to have to start doing because you want to get a vibe for them, because some people have like a scolding nature. Some people have like, I have people that I did not choose for my own self because I didn't like their personality. Like, we didn't vibe, we didn't mesh. You know, some people like to, like, I don't know, tell everybody, oh, you need to do this or you need to do that. I don't care for that. So that's one of the first things you're going to do. The next thing you're going to do is lenders. Yes, you're going to need to talk to a lender, but before you give a lender all of your financial information and let them run your credit, you can ask them what products they offer. You can ask them what their rate is. You can ask them what type of overlays. So Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac.
Overlays. What's that? What's that?
I'm already explaining it. I'm already ahead of you. So Freddie Mac, Fannie Mae, you know, they make FHA. We've all heard FHA. FHA makes requirements, and you have to meet these requirements to get an FHA loan. But FHA is not a lender. FHA itself is not passing out money to anybody. So the lenders, who are the actual entities giving out the money, they can create their own criteria that might be a little bit harder than what FHA said. Those are called overlays. So like FHA might say you can have a 580 credit score, but US Bank can say, yeah, not for us. No, you won't get none of our money for that. So they have the ability to do that because they are the one giving out the money. So those are called overlays. So you can ask them, what are your overlays? Shopping for a home myself now, so many lenders like, oh, but give me your information. You can tell me a little bit about the program. You don't need my information to answer some questions. Like, don't be so quick to just jump, because they just want to get you in there. They're just trying to get you in the home. You know, my goal is to help you stay in it. Correct. Shop around. You have the privilege and the power to shop around for lenders, realtors, inspectors. Find out information. Ask them questions.
And I feel like that's why it's so important to get this game, hear it from people who are experienced, who are the experts in this game, because once you know, now you're more confident. Like, boom, I never thought about, like, I haven't seen people, I've seen people go with one realtor and stick with that person. I just never thought, like, okay, if that realtor not doing you right, go find another one. You know what I mean? So little stuff like that, that kind of puts the confidence back in, you know, our court. You know what I mean? So I appreciate that.
And that's the goal.
For sure. That makes a lot of sense. And I think another point that people can get confused on, and including myself, is the mortgage rates. Like, can you break that down? Give us the game, and, like, in your opinion, what does a good rate look like? How long would you recommend the length of that loan or that mortgage loan to be? Give us the game on that.
Okay, so typical mortgage length is 30 years. You do have the option, like you can do 15 years, but I personally say, why obligate yourself to a higher rate per month? If you want to pay it off in 15 years, take on the 30-year obligation, and then nobody says that you have to stick to it. You can still pay it off in 15 years. But that way, if you fall on hard times or anything happens, you have the leeway. So 30-year term. Now, as far as rates, it depends on what type of loan. You have FHA loans. FHA loan is typically for people who might have had a little bit of shaky credit. But honestly, a lot of investors use it also because it requires a lower amount for you to bring to the table. It's going to be a 3.5% interest rate. And that 3.5 is based off your purchase price. That's a lower amount to have to bring to the table. But the catch and the downside to FHA is when you put that amount that's lower than 20%, now you have a mortgage insurance premium that you have to pay, which means that this is insurance that the lender is taking out on the chance that you don't pay your mortgage. They're going to get their money regardless. So that's an extra payment you're going to have to pay for the life of your loan you can get rid of it, but in order for you to get rid of it, you're going to have to refinance out, which is going to be kind of like going through a miniature home buying process again. And that's another thing that people don't tell. They tell you, oh, date the rate, marry the mortgage, which is a lot of what people tell them. Like, basically get the house because your mortgage price, the house price is not going to change. And when the rates drop, then refinance. But what they don't tell you is a lot of lenders have requirements to refinance. You might have to have so much equity in your property for them to allow you to. You have to maintain your credit. You got to have a down payment again. It's a lot. So the next type of loan is going to be a conventional loan. Conventional loan, you can get a great rate, but it's heavily focused on your credit score. This loan, the better your credit score, you want to go for this loan. If you have like a 700, close to a 700, you might get better rates with the conventional loan and still be able to put less than the 20% down. But again, you want to ask what the terms, and when I mean what the terms, okay, so how much down payment are they requiring? What credit scores are they looking for or higher? You want to ask them, is it a fixed rate? Fixed rate basically means that this is going to be your rate the entire lifetime of the loan. Adjustable rate means that your rate is going to adjust periodically along with the market. So let's just say right now our rates are very high. That means your interest rate would have jumped up really high, which is going to make your mortgage payment jump up really high. And that's no bueno. That's one of the things that caused the crash, because people signed up for these type of loans, and when their mortgage went up, they couldn't afford it, and thus they foreclosed.
So what would be it sounds like the fixed rate would just be the best. Why do people do the adjustable?
Because they don't. They don't know. You only know what you know.
For sure. Man, I got so many questions.
It's a lot. That's what I'm saying. This is why you have to educate yourself. There are so many pieces to the home buying process. It's insane.
So you mentioned, you need the FHA loan would be if you didn't have too good credit. Conventional loan, if you had good credit, you could definitely try to tap in with that one. So what is that actual score that constitutes good credit for these lenders?
So to me, that's comparative, because honestly, when you know more about it and you know how to work it, you're going to compare them to see which one is just going to come out best, period. You're going to talk with the lender. They're going to look at your situation, and then they can tell you. Now, that's when you get to the point of, okay, now I've given them my financial information, and then you can kind of choose which one is better. For me, I'm not a first-time home buyer. So looking for programs or things like that, I want to ask them what they have. And initially they're like, oh, well, we have this, but you got to be a first time home buyer. I'm like, okay, well, it's no point of me giving you my information because I know I'm not a first time home buyer. I have property in my name. So things like that is why you want to have that initial conversation. You also want people who are very comfortable with answering your questions. They're not getting irritated by you asking a lot of questions. They're comfortable and okay with educating you during the process. So I don't think it's like, it's not okay to say like, okay, this is the good rate. For credit scores, I personally recommend you get at least a 640. The reason why I say that is because if you're going to get a down payment assistance or things like that, sometimes down payment assistance programs have their own requirements. They might have a higher score requirement than your loan. So I typically say at least a 640 or higher is what I typically tell people. And then you can compare and see what you can get, based on what that lender offers. But different lenders offer different products. So you could talk to this lender and they can tell you they have nothing for you, and talk to another one and they'd be able to get you in the house because they offer completely different products.
I love it. You dropped so many gems here today. And I have one final question for you. It's our famous final question because this is FY Fly, a show about money, entrepreneurship, and investing. So I'm going to ask you two quotes, and I need you to let me know which one is more accurate in your opinion, all right? All right, so the first one is more money, more problems. Shout out to Biggie. And the second one is money can't buy happiness. Which one do you agree with most?
I don't agree with either one of them at all.
Oh. Break it down for us there.
So first of all, I don't know about you, but I had a lot of problems while I was broke. I don't know about you, but I had a lot of problems while I was broke. So I don't feel like there was more problems when I got more money. I feel like it was just problems, and maybe people are associating it with the money. But broke people have a lot of problems. A whole bunch of them.
Most definitely.
And they real bad. And then for money can't buy you. I think it can. It buys my vacations. It buys my margaritas. It pays for my spa days.
Yeah.
It pays for my investments, which funds me being able to retire early soon. Yeah. I mean, that sounds about a whole bunch of happiness to me. I don't know about you. I guess it depends. I guess it depends on what makes you happy. I like being able to spend more time with my people and not be worried about how my bill's going to get paid. I like those type of things. I like flicking the switch
so
and
it's
the
really
lights
all
come
about
on.
that. Yeah.
I love doing that. See, look at this. It's beautiful. It's beautiful lighting.
Hey, it's all about that perspective. That's what I get about it. Your
And what's the name of
perspective
my
on
company? Perspectives.
Come on, money perspectives. I love it. I love it. You are the best, Nia. I really do appreciate this. Thank you so much for joining the show. If you have any final words, any final takeaways, go ahead and also let them know where to reach you.
So my final takeaway is, first of all, money management is a form of self-care. And discipline is one of the first forms of self-love. So that's my last two quotes. If you want to find me, you can find me at Money Perspectives on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And for everybody listening, take some of these gems. I know we talked about a lot and it's a lot to consume, but start with the beginning pieces that Nia mentioned. Practice those. Watch more YouTube videos. Get her book. We're going to definitely link her book in the show notes. We'll link your YouTube as well. Start watching some of those just so you can be more comfortable. As we mentioned, once you get some of this knowledge and these words don't sound super foreign to you, now you'll be more confident when you go talk to that inspector, to that realtor, to that lender. You'll be more confident and you won't shy away from it. So I think this is a great game. Go ahead.
I was going to say, shameless plug, the back of my book has a glossary for that exact purpose.
Wow. Oh, yeah. We definitely going to link that in the show notes for everybody. So, again, my FYI Fly folks, y'all already know. We need y'all to stay safe, stay invested, and stay FYI Fly. We'll see y'all next week.